My name is Jason Leonard. I've been here since 1987, 1988. I've owned the mill, well, took over from my grandfather probably back in about 2010, 2011. So I've been here a long time. It was actually built 1864, 68. That's conflicting sometimes, depending on who you talk to. It was originally built as a linseed mill. It didn't stay as a linseed mill very long. There was probably between 14, 15 different owners in the time of from when it was built to 1947, 48. And that's when our family came here. Actually, the gentleman that opened the mill back up, his name was Virgil Malmsbury, and my grandpa worked for him. And my grandpa worked for Virgil. Virgil stayed on till his death. He died in 1996. My grandpa took over from him, I think, in 1980. And then he carried it on until I did in 2010, 11, somewhere in that area. Actually, I was really young. I would come over with my grandpa on the weekends. If we were staying with him, he always came over on Sundays to do book work, stuff like that. So, you know, my memories were when I was really young was coming over with him, just kind of running around the mill on Sundays. And at that time, I kind of developed what I thought, well, I want to work at the mill. I always found it fascinating how things worked in here, and I really looked up to my grandpa. He had a great work ethic, and so that made me kind of say, well, that's what I'm going to do. But I just stayed, the course and just came here, and I started working during the summers while I was still in high school. And then when I got out of high school, I started full time, which was 1990. Mm-hmm. And here I am today. He really believed in, he grew up agriculture. He grew up in the country. He worked farms when he was young. And then he was in the Navy. Once he got out of the Navy, then he continued working in the feed mill. He was very just passionate about farmers. He cared about farmers when they were having problems. He felt horrible about that, and he would cut them breaks on their feed bill. He'd let them go a couple months without paying their feed bill to help, whatever it would take. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, he knew, just as we're seeing now, the decline in farming, eventually it's going to have the effect of where are you going to get your food from, and he told me that when I started here, every year is just different, and you see it, unfortunately, you see it with a lot of your older farmers that are just no longer here. Kids aren't interested in doing it. It doesn't pay well. Unfortunately, it's one of the lowest paying jobs, and really it shouldn't be, but that's unfortunately what it is. Like, our horse feed is exactly the same as it's been since I started here. We have not tweaked that in the least bit. Now, we do get tested by the state. They come in, they take samples of all of our feed, and that happens about 3 or 4 times a year. So if there are any discrepancies as far as what we claim on a tag versus what comes back from the state, then we will make an adjustment one way or the other. We have come up with our own feeds since my grandpa has passed, but everything else has pretty much stayed the same. We literally do things the same way as we were doing them from when I started here. It's funny, when I started here, We probably service between 25 to 35 dairies, and I'm, roughly guessing that number. We are literally down to 3 dairy farms now that we personally deal with. A lot of when I started here, a lot of your guys were guys that milked 15, 20, 25 head. Those guys are all long gone. You had your carpers, your wingers, Strubels. I could go on. There was a bunch of them. Now you've basically got left. You got Broadview Farms, which is the Dickerhoof family. Earl Wolf Farms, Schmuck Farms. We deal with Don Shear, which he's down in East Canton. But that's a majority of the dairies that we deal with now. A lot of our customers now are your people that do it. They have to work another job, but they want to raise their own animals. That's a majority of what we have now, and they're all great customers. And thank God that they are wanting to do it, because if it wouldn't be for that, your local butcher shops wouldn't be able to have meat to sell you. And so I am thankful that we do have a good core of customers that way. And they've seen it all. They've weathered the storms as far as when pricing is crazy, and unfortunately feed's up and what they get for the animal is always down. It's never, they never make any money doing it. Most of them do it out of the love of just doing it. Yeah, we have always tried to stay local. The biggest issue now is no farmer around here, well, I shouldn't say no, but hardly any farmers around here raise their own oats. Oats is a big ingredient that we use for horse feed, cow feed. So now all our oats comes from Canada, but that is the only thing that we get, out of the area. All our corn comes from Broadview Farms, Schmuck Farms, Jeff Miller, and that's all local right here. Your soybean meal, that comes from Sandusky, Ohio. Where the beans come from, that's hard to say, but that is the bean refinery, or the bean plant is here in Ohio. So, and all our prepackaged stuff is all local grain. Kalmbach Feeds, which is one of our big companies that we deal with, they're a local company. ADM is not. They're a national company, but everything they make is made down in Sugar Creek, Ohio, and their grain is all going to be local. Cargill, which is your Nutrina horse feed, same thing. They have a plant out in Worcester, so all the feed that comes from there is made out in the Worcester plant. So everything is pretty much locally sourced. As far as everything that we make, yeah, that would be considered locally sourced. Mm-hmm. But what I like to think that we can offer versus them is our knowledge of feed. If you go into TSC and you ask one of the clerks about anything, and I'm not saying every one of the clerks there won't know, but a good majority of the clerks that work at those stores have no clue what they're selling. We can at least try and guide you in the right direction. Maybe your animal isn't doing as well as you think it should be doing. Maybe you just want to do a change. Maybe you want to do a custom mix. TSC isn't going to custom mix you anything. So we're able, I think for us, we're able to give that, a better option, make that a better option for you. You don't have to go into the store and trudge around with a cart and try and find the feed and load it into the cart and load it out, take it out to your vehicle and load it. Get back right up to our dock. Myself, Vic, one of us will greet you out there, ask you what you need. We load it in your car. You're in and out 5-10 minutes. So I think that is an advantage for us. But in all honesty, I think, unless you're absolutely sold on, a prepackaged feed, and a lot of them, there's a price point for a reason. And normally when it's a really, really low price, and not everybody likes to hear this and not everybody wants to hear this, usually when it's a low price point, it's because whatever ingredients they're using are the absolute cheapest ingredients that they can find at the time when they make that feed. I know for a fact that there's a lot of feed, whatever's cheapest, that's what goes into it. And I mean, it's, the analysis may check out okay and all that stuff, but you're still not getting a good quality product. Come check us out. I mean, if you have any questions, call us. We have a website, we have a Facebook page. If there's something that you're not sure about, if there's something that we don't have that maybe you're interested in, let me check and see if I can get it. I mean, we carry a lot of different brands, and I have a lot of different contacts with other companies. You know, give it a shot. Give us a shot.